Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. And the Mavic. How many of you guys have the Mavic out there? It's 1, 2, 3, too many of you. So for this video, I should probably get the Mavic. So this beauty. So having had this for 12 months, I'm going to talk about 3 things in this video that have done me well in making money off of this little boy and getting incredible footage. At least I think it's incredible footage. So number 1, the must-have accessories. Now this is, I'm not going to tell you everything that you need to buy, every accessory that's out there. I'm going to tell you like the most important ones to get if you want to use this for any kind of real purpose, and what's going to actually keep you flying and getting great footage. Number 2, I'm going to talk through whether this is good enough for professional work or not. And then finally, I'm going to walk you through the settings that I have on this guy, the ones that I've figured out over the last 12 months that have done me well, have got me some great work, and have given me some fantastic footage to give off to clients. So let's get straight into number 1 with the best accessories to get. I would definitely advise 3 batteries. I think 4 is maybe 1 too many, 2 is just not enough, and I think 3 is the perfect number. Moving on from that is having a car charger. I can't tell you how many times this has saved me, giving me just, you know, that extra 5 or 10 minutes of flight time, just allowing me to stick one of the batteries on charge while I run the juice out of my last battery, giving me enough for a final flight and getting that final shot. Now if I'm just shooting for vlogs, I'll use my phone to be able to see what I'm looking at. But if I'm doing professional work, I will always use the iPad. Now I use an iPad mini here, which gives me more vision. I'm able to see more, I'm able to see what's in focus, what's everything that's in my shot. And it gives me the ability to really capture that shot so much better and make sure everything is in focus. I would definitely advise getting an iPad mini for this if you don't already have one. Going along with that is of course a short cable. To connect the iPad mini, you can of course use a normal iPhone cable, but then you've got all this leftover cable that you don't need and it's just gonna get in the way. So purchasing a small one like this is only about $9 or something from Amazon, and I would definitely advise that as well. As for collecting dust and making sure you try and keep everything clean, I just bought this little sleeve. I think that's about $9 as well, and this has been fantastic, just keeping dust and dirt out of it. I've looked at buying a hard case for it, but I don't really need that because I just slip the Mavic into this sleeve and then sit that at the bottom of my bag, and that's all I really need. There have also been a number of times when I've flown just a little bit too close to trees, just trying to get that exact shot that I wanted, and maybe I hit a twig in the tree and a little part of the propeller has popped off. And it's amazing, just a slight chip on the propeller can make a huge amount of difference, make it so hard to control. So I always carry extra props with me. And the final accessory that I would definitely advise getting, that I held off for so long and I regret doing that, are some lenses, some ND filters. I could never get really great photos with this Mavic, and my video footage was really good, but it was never as good as it could be until I started using these ND filters. I tend to keep an ND32 filter on the Mavic at all times, and that gives me a much higher range to be able to shoot. And since I shoot on D-Log mode, that gives me the ability to get much better shots and then be able to edit that shot in post. So that is it for all the accessories that I have. That's obviously not an exhaustive list. I mean, that list can go on. You can get foils for the drone, you can get a landing pad, you can get landing gear. One accessory that I think would be useful but is just definitely isn't a necessity is a little charging bank. Something that you can fit, I think it's like 4 batteries on this bank and then just plug the one cable into. That means that you don't have to then think about plugging a new battery in once one is charged, because it charges one after the other consecutively. So let's get on to, is this Mavic good enough for professional work? And I'm just, yes. I mean, yes. In this day and age, drone footage is still epic. Like, people still look at shots from above and think, wow, like that's an incredible shot, because they've never seen it from that perspective before. Maybe you or I may see a huge difference between a shot from a Mavic Pro and a shot from an Inspire 2 on the Zenmuse X7, but that's because we're trained to it. But someone who is just looking at a shot from a drone, a shot from above, they're still gonna think it's incredible. So for the time being, yes, I think a Mavic Pro is perfect and is definitely professional enough for professional work. I mean, I've done weddings, I've done real estate shoots, I've done indoor shooting, which the Mavic is perfect for because it's so small. I mean, the one drawback is that when you turn up on site and someone says, oh, well, where's your drone? And all you've got is a backpack on, and you pull out this thing, this dinky little sleeve, people start to kind of question, oh, you know, what am I actually paying for here? Are they gonna get what I want? But then you let the footage speak for itself, and you let your control of the aircraft speak for itself, and that's it. So let's now move on to the best settings for this Mavic. Now I've flown this like maybe 3 times a week for the last 12 months, so the last 52 weeks. And I tweak my settings all the time to try and get the right settings, and this is what I've been left with. I set my EXP to 25, I keep that the whole way around. Then my sensitivity, I set the altitude to 100, the braking to 130, the yaw movement limit to 100, and then I set the gain to 100. So for the camera, I set the gimbal pitch speed to 5 and the gimbal pitch smoothness to 20. Now moving on to the actual camera settings, I always shoot in manual ISO mode just to get that right exposure. Like I said, a drone shot is meant to be entirely cinematic. There's meant to be no fluctuation about it. So having a white balance that changes as you move from looking straight at the sky to looking at the ground, it just doesn't look professional. So set that to manual, set your ISO to begin with at the beginning of your shot, and deal with it from there. Now I always shoot 4K at 24 frames per second, unless obviously a client asks me to shoot at like 1080, 120 frames per second or something. So I will always shoot at 4K 23.98 frames per second, because then you get that cinematic look of motion blur in the background. So when you follow a certain subject that's moving, they stay in, it's almost like it's in focus the whole time, and everything around them that's like it's slightly blurring. And the reason that filmmakers shoot in 23.98 or cinematographers shoot in 23.98 frames per second is because that's the way our eyes see things. When you track something like you're watching a car, the car stays in focus, but everything else is blurry around it. See, top tips. Then moving on to the white balance, I always set that for every shoot as well. So if it's a really overcast day, I might set that to a shade, the shade setting I think it is. And if it's a sunny day, obviously definitely set that to the sunny mode. The style I always keep at none, and color, unless I'm shooting for someone who isn't going to be doing any post-production editing on this, I'll shoot in true color for them. But if I know someone's going to be editing this, whether it's me or an actual professional editing team, I would always shoot in D-Log mode. That gives them the most dynamic range to be able to play around with the footage. Yes, I'll admit it looks horrible before any production, but once it's in production and color grading's done to it, it looks awesome. Now I always shoot with the histogram on so that I can see that my peaks are in the middle of this histogram. If they're too far left or too far right, you know you need to change up your ISO, and ideally you want those peaks right in the center. Now when it comes to focus, using a normal camera, or maybe using the Phantom 4 Pro or anything like that, you would set this to manual focus so that you're not constantly jumping in and out of focus on different objects. But with the Mavic, you set the focus once and that's it for the whole shot. So I just use the autofocus. Before I start hitting record, I set the focus on that shot and I go from there. So those are the 3 topics that I wanted to cover. I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you're interested in like no-fly zones and things like that, and trying to understand where you can fly, where you can't fly, download the Before You Fly app. This is how you spell it. I'll leave a link in the description as well. That will show you where you can and can't fly and where you've got to get unlocks. And if you're not sure how to unlock an area, because certain ones you have to lock like unlock a week in advance, others you can unlock that minute. Follow this link here and I'll show you how to do it. Otherwise guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. And like I said, this has been 12 months with the Mavic and I use this so much. And I hope that you guys can take from my experiences with this drone. I mean, it's an incredible drone. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, thank you very much for watching. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, do what you gotta do, and I'll see you guys back here again soon for another tutorial.